You ever watch a game and just think, man, that was pure chaos. Totally random, right? Well, what if I told you that sometimes the weirdest, most bizarre results aren't random at all? Sometimes you can actually see them coming. Because this story, it's not about luck, it's about process. And look, this isn't some 2020 hindsight thing where we connect the dots after it's all over. No way. This is about a documented, data-driven process that laid out what was going to happen before a single pitch was even thrown. It's about having the receipts in real time. All right, so the game we're diving into was between the Houston Astros and the Detroit Tigers. On the surface, just another late-season matchup. But underneath, a perfect storm of factors was brewing. So here's the central mystery, right? The game was this super tense 0-0 gridlock for 9 full innings. And then it ends in the most anticlimactic, bizarre way you can imagine, a walk-off walk. How on earth does that happen? And more importantly, how could anyone possibly have seen it coming? Okay, so to crack this case, we've got to start where any fan would. The most obvious clue on the entire field, the two guys on the mound. And wow, what a matchup it was. You've got Detroit's Tarek Skubal, an absolute strikeout machine with a crazy high whiff percentage. That's how often batters just swing and miss. Then on the other side, Houston's Hunter Brown with a nearly identical ERA, but he gets it done by preventing hard contact. Just look at that tiny barrel percentage. That's a stat for how often guys hit the ball on the sweet spot. So right off the bat, you're thinking, okay, low-scoring game, for sure. But that's just scratching the surface. To really understand what was about to go down, we have to dig deeper. We have to look for the hidden edges. These are the things that don't show up in a normal box score, but they can absolutely change the outcome of a game. And the first major clue isn't a player or a stat. It's just a single, big number, 10,000. That's how many more miles the Houston Astros had traveled recently compared to the well-rested Tigers. And listen, this isn't just some fun fact for the broadcast. This is a hard data point with real consequences. The science is totally clear on this. That much travel messes with your body's internal clock, it slows down your reaction time, and historical data for teams in this exact situation shows a staggering 12% drop in performance. This is a real, measurable disadvantage. Okay, so what's the second hidden clue? The man behind the plate. See, to a data analyst, the umpire isn't just some guy calling balls and strikes. He is another variable with his own unique, measurable data profile. And for this game's umpire, Carlos Torres, the one key data point that changes absolutely everything is 93.3%. Now, that number itself isn't really the story. It's the implication, right? When an umpire is that accurate and that consistent, it's like a green light for elite pitchers. They know the strike zone is reliable, so they have the confidence to just attack hitters. And what does that lead to? Yep, more strikeouts. So we've got our clues. Two-ace pitchers, a tired lineup, and a really consistent umpire. Now, let's look at the system that was used to put all these clues together to get a final verdict. And that system is the SHARPE framework. You can think of it like a checklist that turns random clues into a solid case. It forces you to be systematic, looking at the pitchers, consider the historical data, like that travel fatigue, use advanced metrics, recognize the context, like the umpire, and on and on. It's a structured process that gives you that complete 360-degree view. But honestly, the most critical part of any professional process is just intellectual honesty. It's about letting the data be your guide, even if it tells you your first gut feeling was wrong. For example, the initial analysis was super high on Tarek Skubal's strikeout potential. But then, other data showed he'd only actually gone over the betting line in 54% of his starts. So instead of ignoring that, the confidence was downgraded. Pros adjust with data. Amateurs just double down on a feeling. So, with the case built and honestly assessed, what was the final verdict? Let's check out how the prediction lined up with reality. This right here is the final output, a tiered portfolio of predictions. You can see the highest confidence plays were betting on a really low-scoring first 5 innings. That's the F5 under, and absolutely no runs in the first inning, which is called a NRFI. Then you have a strong but slightly less confident play that Skubal would get more than 7.5 strikeouts. So, what happened? Bam. Every single one of those maximum confidence predictions came true. The script for the game played out exactly how all those hidden edges suggested it would. And I mean, you could literally watch it unfold in real time. 20 minutes into the game, the no-runs first inning bet was already a winner. By the end of the fifth, still 0-0, the under was a total breeze. In the seventh, Skubal gets his 10th strikeout, just crushing that prediction. And then finally, the game ends 1-0, confirming that ultra-low scoring world that all those factors created. But the real takeaway here isn't about one baseball game. Not really. It's about the power of the process that led to the prediction. That's the meta lesson. So why wasn't this just a lucky guess? Well, it comes down to 3 big ideas. First, edge stacking. That's when you combine a bunch of independent factors, travel, weather, pitching, that all point in the same direction. Second, data validation, using multiple sources to check your work. And third, ego-free adjustment, being willing to change your mind when the facts tell you to. That's what separates a real system from just a guess. Ultimately, it just all boils down to this simple philosophy. A good process can sometimes lead to a bad result, sure, but a bad process is never going to lead to long-term success. It's about trusting the system over luck, the evidence over your ego. And that kind of brings us to the final thought. This isn't just about sports. This is a way of looking at the whole world. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What hidden data, what invisible forces, what subtle edges are shaping the outcomes all around us, in business, in tech, in our own lives, just waiting for someone to find them?